to open up the workforce and power more than 1 million job opportunities in the next 5 years. This is the mission of a female founded tech startup, Symba. In fact, I actually met Symba's wonderful team at South Summit in Madrid last year. I saw their pitch. I think it was the first one they did as part of the competition. And I knew I had to bring them to the show. I was rooting for them, and I'm so glad they won. Today, by going through Paula Mora and Mitra Leban's journey, we will talk about startup growth, creating partnerships, and his stories of how Symba have managed to create more than 5,000 talent development experiences so far. This is something that is very close to my heart, as I really love finding all of the opportunities out there that provides support, especially for early career talents. Welcome to the Mary Poppins of Business live show. I'm Makangu from Athena Leaders, an organization that is passionate about helping startups dream, build, and play whilst leaving behind the legacy of a happy and productive workplace playground. For those who are new to the show, 3 rules. First one, we love interacting with you. If you want to cheer your team on, if you want to send us questions, don't miss out the opportunities of finding out through our wonderful guests today. Put a comment and we will answer you live. Rule number 2, if you know any other startups or anyone part of the startup ecosystem that can support the growth of startups, whether we're talking investment, funding, building a team, and much more, then get them to speak to the Mary Poppins of Business. And number 3, relax and enjoy the show. So, Paula and Mitra, one question that's probably on the mind of anybody that's researched Symba so far. Do you guys have kind of a trophy cabinet somewhere where you are displaying all of the wonderful awards that you've received in such a short period of time?
I wish we had, we are all scattered across the country, and we have teammates, across the US and some even abroad. And we have, of course, gathered many amazing recognitions. So, of course, we have a lot within our HQ, which is where our CEO is based in Chicago. She's cherished many amazing awards. I have some here from South Summit. So it's kind of, everywhere, but definitely in our hearts.
Oh, that's brilliant. Can you tell us a bit more about Symba and what the organization does before we dive into your individual's journey?
Absolutely. I'll dive in here. Symba was founded back in 2017, so we were pre-COVID. And at that time, our idea was kind of revolutionary. A lot of people were hosting internships in person. And so our platform stepped in here and created an opportunity for people to host their programs remotely. So we help with managing internships, apprenticeships, and we bring it all into one platform so that we can help facilitate project management, feedback, community development, data tracking, all the works in one place. So helping to streamline internship programs, to put it simply.
Oh, brilliant. And so how did you find out about Symba and really wanted to get involved?
I've been following Symba's journey for a while now, actually, and I joined back in 2020, right at the beginning of COVID. I was looking for a job transition, had been following the journey, and the team was growing, so it was a perfect time for me to step in. Prior to Symba, I was working in higher education as a student success coach, so I took a background in international development, combined that with a history of working in higher ed, and found myself working with the social impact team and facilitating a lot of the social impact initiatives for our team too. So really cool marriage of my past histories, and I'm super excited to get to apply it in this innovative context. Paula also has a really interesting story. I love her origin story with joining the team.
Yeah, and I love that you made your way here, Mitra. It's just been such an amazing journey working with you, and Mitra and I work really closely together, and it's just always a pleasure. So I also have a background in international relations. I went to undergrad in Florida International University, and right after undergrad, I actually landed my first job at the World Bank. And I was able to get through these opportunities thanks to internships. I actually took 5 internships during undergrad, and these really paved the way and opened up many, many doors for me. So I was already, very significantly just impacted by these sorts of talent development programs. So during my time at the World Bank, I was, of course, super involved and super passionate about the World Bank mission. And at the same time, I felt like I wanted to make more of an impact, right? Working in such a large international organization, it's a blessing, but also it drives you to be even more impactful, right? It drives you to have even more of an impact. So I was dwelling between, should I get involved in some, outside volunteer work? Should I kind of give back my time in some shape or form? So that's around the time that Ava, our CEO, came to the World Bank to speak on a female entrepreneurship panel. And this was back in 2018. So Symba was becoming this, very, very strong team. And I was very, very excited during that conversation, went up to her, told her, hey, I work here, but I'd love to support in any way that I can. And that's how, very early on, I joined the team as one of the founding members and haven't looked back since. Left my job at the World Bank, came and worked for Symba full time. And it's just been such an amazing journey.
Yeah, it feels like for the both of you, in fact, Symba was just meant to happen, right? It's the right fit for what you're looking for and for your own personal journey.
Super serendipitous, yeah, and it's a blessing. Yeah. I love working with our team. It's one of the best parts of our startup experience too. It's just powerhouse of women that are all really motivated and passionate about the topic, and we help drive each other forward every day.
Yeah, definitely. Now let's look a little bit about the journey of a startup as something that I love to do, especially the changes that you've experienced in your roles and in yourselves from the before at the beginning when you've really tried to push it forward to the after, now that the company is growing and there's definitely a lot more recognition, the platform is solid. So how has it been, if you focus first on the before, the transformation from the before and then the after?
I can speak a little bit about, the before, kind of, coming into the team early on. We obviously were always very passionate about what we were trying to accomplish. So I think that's something that has always remained the same from, day one till today. I think that passion and that, centeredness is something that drives teams that succeed, right? Being very much like steadfast on the focus of your mission, but also allowing the flexibility around how you get to that endpoint. So I think our team has seen many transitions from, being able to participate in incubator programs that helped us, push our envelope and try out new things and maybe pivot a little bit and then come back to our, original path. And it's just, I think, such a journey that every team has to go through in order to succeed, in order to grow. Obviously, sometimes it's uphills, sometimes it's, twists and turns. But again, the fact of the matter is that our mission has remained so solid and so focused that we know where we need to go. We know how to achieve it. And again, our team is just so excited to continue to be on this path of, growth and being able to just support our mission and give back and actually prove why we're doing this, and that, the platform that we're creating actually creates an impact. Again, we're making this, we're doing this journey for the people that we're helping, right? We're creating these solutions to make organizations, programs a lot easier to manage and to have an impact in these sorts of participants that are taking part in these sort of talent development programs. So yeah, definitely a journey.
Yeah, I'll just add too, it's part of the startup journey is the challenge of creating a new category. There hasn't been an internship management platform really before ours. So just getting the word out there and establishing what our product is and letting people know that it exists has been part of that process too. And now with some of our pitch competitions and the awareness we're starting to raise about our company, that growth is starting to accelerate a lot more, and that category is really starting to come into the definition, which is helpful for us at this stage.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess I kind of like it's all like you're talking about the mission and having a team that is really passionate about the mission as it's going along, especially, social impact is such a big thing at the moment. And when we start also looking at the opportunities for young people to enter the world of work is becoming even more competitive. So anything that they can do in terms of internships and finding those opportunities, I think is it's kind of brilliant, the work that you do. So as you said, Mitra, just now, that obviously is coming up with a new idea, right? So entering the market with something that hasn't really been done before, and you go into the company and organizations. How did you feel the reception was initially, especially during the awareness stage of letting people know that you exist?
That's a great question. And I know Paula can definitely add to it too, since she was part of the journey even before me. But I do know that at the beginning, it was really challenging, especially before COVID, when everyone was in person, because remote wasn't a thing. So just teaching people about our product and why it might be useful was a lot more challenging because everyone was working in person. And then now it's a lot easier to establish the need for a tool like ours, as everyone's comfortable and getting used to this notion of working from home, and the use case just snapped into place for a product like ours. So definitely was hard to convince people at the beginning to change their norm and expectation of what internships look like. And now that people are really open-minded and have personal experience working in different ways, that's definitely been an advantage for us too.
Definitely. I would say, to echo on Mitra, the main piece that we were trying to focus on was educating, right? Educating our customer base, educating the organizations that would benefit from these sorts of technologies, because of course it's very easy for us to stick with the status quo, not change things around, not make a ruckus. But at the end of the day, we see the impact and we see the improvement when we do change. And of course, there is this typical resistance to change, which is part of a human characteristic. But our team has focused so much on creating learning content. And that's actually one of Mitra's fortes, being able to really create this narrative, share resources that are really proving, the impact of these sorts of technologies. And I think every organization, tech organization that you look at that is creating some sort of innovative way of doing something is investing a lot of time in creating these resources and creating these guides and creating these toolkits that are there to serve, right? Regardless if the company or the person purchases the technology or not, they know that they're gaining something from these types of educational resources.
Yeah, and that's also very interesting. One thing that I really want to highlight here is the fact that this idea of offering remote internships started, BC, which is not before crisis, it's before COVID. Because when we take that in the concept, the perspective of today, I think it's a bit difficult for people to imagine some of the challenges that you face. Like I was saying to a friend the other day, when you watch The Matrix today, the movie, you probably think, oh, that's great sci-fi, great stories. But when you think about the year it was created and the technology that was available then you can appreciate the journey that went through. And it's the same with Symba. Of course, right now, when you talk about remote offerings, people are like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But if you can take us a little bit back into, especially back in 2017, 18, 19 BC, and when the world was really thinking about remote, could you tell us why did you focus on remote internship even back then?
Yeah. So I think the main mission that we were trying to accomplish and that we're still trying to accomplish is opening up the workforce, right? So we knew there was a gap. We knew that talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not, right? We knew that there had to be some sort of bridge between these very talented students that may be in remote areas or remote locations, and this bridge towards opportunity in organizations that are going to help them gain professional skills to help them, just open up their career prospects. So we knew from very early on that there was this gap, right? Then, of course, before developing a single line of code, before actually, putting the product together, we sat down and we did focus groups, right? We sat down with around 250 HR leaders across different organizations in the US. And we tried to, first of all, understand what is preventing them from becoming that bridge, right? What is preventing them from opening up those doors? And what we were able to gain from those conversations and the insights that we were able to understand is that it's not so much that the organization is not willing to, open up their doors and is not willing to attract diverse talent, and they're not willing to, have these sorts of talent programs. That's not it. The problem is that they might not know how to do it. They might not know how to get there, and they definitely don't have the infrastructure to get there, right? So on average, they were telling us we're using anywhere from 7 to 11 different platforms just to run an in-person program, right? An in-person internship. You might imagine, on the back end, the administrative work that the organization has to go through. They are using, spreadsheets to track the data of their participants, tools to communicate, tools to engage, tools to train, so many different things. So of course, in their head, 2017, there's no way I'm going to try to figure out how to do this remotely. It's that simple, right? So in our heads, we're not just creating a remote tool, right? We're not just saying, hey, here's a remote tool, use it. We're creating that bridge where organizations can tell us now, hey, I have the tools, I have the infrastructure. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and scale my internship program, bring in more diverse talent, track their success, measure their performance, offer full-time jobs, right? And be able to know that I'm making the right decision. So that is really why this whole, idea came about. And that's really why, again, I keep going back to our mission, keep going back to the focus of our work, when we weren't, our mission wasn't creating a technology tool. Our mission was really bridging that gap.
I love the way that Paula puts that with bridging the gap there, because it's all about opening access, like democratizing access to the workforce by eliminating these geographic boundaries. And part of that too is having the right resources and understanding of what a remote internship looks like and how to facilitate that, because it is a little different. You're not going to be together in a brick and mortar setting. You can't show somebody physically how to do the job. You have to be able to use really strong communication skills, really organize structured projects. And you have to have a tool in place in order to deliver all of that in a very clear way so that your intern is not confused. It's their first time working, potentially their first time working ever. So those are all factors that need to be considered too for a remote setting. And that's also why we're really passionate about providing resources, having live workshops and webinars for customers and anybody that's hosting an internship. We're really open and inclusive about our educational resources too. So all of that's tied together in our system of trying to open up the workforce here.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I also agree with the bridging the gap analogy. And it's also nice to see the level of support. So it's not just about, here you go, this is the internship available. But as you said, how do we make sure that the young people coming in also feel the support, or they know what is going to happen next, by giving the tools to organization to be able to support them. So. Yeah. And I guess in terms of this idea of coming into an organization, what was your experience, Mitra, of coming into a fast-running startup?
Oh, that's a great question. When I joined, there were I think 4 or 5 of us on the team, so still really small. And I joined as a contract worker just to support while things were growing. It was super busy at the beginning of COVID. We had just launched a campaign called #SaveInternships. So we were head to the ground trying to help these companies transition to support their programs and go remote right at the beginning of COVID, so they didn't cancel. And we were also doing this with one of our partners, Pay Our Interns, which they do a lot of great advocacy work here in the States, and they talk to politicians and advocate for paid internships. So really great organization over there. But yeah, so it was super busy. And so I was helping out with sales and partnerships, with marketing, with managing our social media, all kinds of things. So a million hats in my closet at that stage. And now that we've been able to hire a few more people on, we're starting to get into a groove. Everyone's getting their more focused roles. I'm able to really dig into some of our social impact planning. And that's really great too, because it's awesome at a startup where you get to have so many different experiences and dip your hands in all the pots. But it's great to now get a little more focus, and we're able to really start running. Excuse me.
Yeah. And what about you, Paula? What has your experience been actually on the other side? Now, when you first started, you're one of the founding members. The team was really small. Now it's growing. The roles and responsibility, as Mitra said, has been really clearly defined in terms of who's doing what. How is that affecting you? Because I think there's an aspect of letting go, but there's also the excitement of what's coming up next, right?
I think it's wonderful. I think it's such an exciting stage in any sort of venture, any sort of team. The fact that now we have, team members that have very clear, responsibilities, that are, supporting kind of these pillars of the organization, right? Each of the focus areas are marketing, engineering, customer success, sales. We all have team members now that are really supporting across the board. So it of course is an opportunity for us as leaders to be able to guide our teams, right? It's an opportunity for us as leaders to be able to communicate effectively our vision, our strategy. It's an opportunity for us as leaders to be able to kind of instill all of the the passions, the missions, the values that we have as an organization, as a startup. And I think it's been such a rewarding experience, because now we're close to a team of 20, including our engineering team, and it's just incredible for us to think that all of these amazing talented individuals have come to our organization, have just have been immersed in the mission, have been immersed in the goal of our organization. That is just such a rewarding experience. And again, as a leader in this stage, at a startup of this stage, I can only imagine, across other startup teams, how exciting this part really becomes. So.
Yes, definitely. And in fact, I was talking to another startup on the live shows, and it was kind of saying similar things. How although there is a bit of there's always going to be an unknown, but there's also the excitement of seeing the team develop, and the team to grow and continue to flourish, especially when everybody's working towards the same mission. Now, one thing I wanted to also spend some time to look at this idea of creating partnerships and to really build a community to support what you are doing. How have you tackled these aspects of creating partnerships and community to get the Symba's world out there?
That's a great question. In a few different ways. We've been really open-minded about the partners that we connect with. And for the last year, I've been just getting to know all the different players in this open up in the future of work ecosystem. I'll use that key term. But we've worked with universities for one, which is an interesting avenue for partnership, because we aren't actually doing matchmaking work, and that's usually the desire of universities, if they want to get their students into internships. And while we can't support with that directly, we have created a job board for universities so that their students have an easier time finding internships that are both paid and remote. They have to have both of those aspects to be on our job board. And that helps a lot of these students find more accessible work opportunities, since they have no geographical boundaries and they don't have to worry about the financial concerns of taking on an unpaid role. So that's one resource that we provide to help facilitate some partnership and give back to students in a capacity. And we also work with other companies that are like tech tools similar to ours that plug in at different stages within the journey. So we have partners that help with eliminating bias in the recruitment process. And then we have partners that also provide micro-learning experiences that are different from a full-fledged internship. So we're starting to get to know all the people that are around us and trying to string together these connections so that we can help educate students and employers about the different options for train to hire pathways. And this whole model of, getting to know the student or anybody, they don't have to be a student necessarily, but your talent, getting to know them and training them so that you have a strong worker that's ready to come into your workforce as a full-time employee after their experience, and that's more inclined to stay too, because studies have shown that those that do internships are more likely to stay with the company, and the company is likely to retain them compared to those that don't do an internship. So that's a mouthful, but Paula, I know that we've worked closely together about partnerships, and we have so many conversations about how to partner, who to partner with, what makes sense for mutual benefit for everyone in this system. So I want to hear what you have to say here too about our partnership journey.
Of course. I mean, ultimately, no organization is self-made, right? You're not gonna make the right contacts. You're not gonna really succeed if you're working in silo, right? If you're just this one entity trying to do everything on your own, trying to, conquer everything. It's all about partnerships, right? It's all about the types of organizations that are mission aligned, that are working towards the same end goal, kind of uniting powers and holding hands along the journey is something that we've been very much keen on doing from the beginning of our startup. So I think partnerships has always been a main pillar in everything we do. It's been a main pillar for our marketing efforts, for the events, the resources that we put together. And I think it's, again, like Mitra mentioned, that win-win situation, right? So yeah, it's just a smart and necessary tactic.
Yeah, definitely. And do you think that, especially when you are building those partnerships, how much of your experience, both of you, were something that you kind of learned on the job, and just pick it up, or how much of it was as well something that you brought based on previous experience?
I would say,
great question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say it's a mix, right? I would say every single skill that we are employing on the job, right? Every single skill that we're employing has played with our personal strengths, right? I would say, both Mitra and I are very much community driven, we're very much relationship driven, across the board, regardless if we're working in Symba, our previous roles, undergrad, any other extracurriculars that we might have done. I think the better we're able to identify our personal skill sets, the better we're able to bring them into the jobs that we're doing on a day-to-day. So I think both of us working on the partnership side was just such a natural fit, because we knew that in order for us to achieve this mission, we had to leverage other great individuals, other great organizations doing amazing things in this space. And that's something that we would have done, in other capacities, because that's what our skill sets allow us and align themselves to do. So I would say it's a mix. Of course, we're always learning on the job. There's always room for improvement. I mean, again, we have wore so many hats that I didn't go to school for marketing, but I was also doing our social media at some point, and doing it, with passion and doing it with grace, because that's the nature of a startup. So yeah, marrying, natural skill sets with the mission, the values of your work. I think that's what, creates the fuel for moving forward with that. But Mitra, I know you also wanted to share something.
No, I'll add to that, but I really love that explanation of leaning on your natural skill sets, because there's so much you have to do with the startup. You're not going to have the skill sets to do everything or have been trained professionally for everything you need to do. And eventually, as the team grows, you get to find your flow. As we talked about, you go into your lane where your training and your skills are most aligned. But you definitely have that experience of a little bit of learning. There's a learning curve, absolutely. I will say that just like any job, you draw on your past experiences, and there are common skills even across industries. So, for example, in my past role in higher ed, I was a big connective tissue for that team. I was helping students learn about all the resources on campus and helping connect them to the other people that could help train them and provide them with better resources than I could. And part of that is just understanding what is available, understanding who needs what, and how to bring them together. And I think that skill set definitely applied here in the partnership space. Just becoming aware of what's available, who else is out there, how they might connect together, and then how we can have the most advantage for everybody. But yeah, I guess it's a journey of taking the metaphor of what you've learned in the past job and then applying it in a new context. But yeah.
Definitely, and especially at 100 miles an hour, depending on what's going on at the time as well, isn't it?
Totally.
But I guess for me, this is one of the most exciting parts of working with startups and starting my own business, is because of the learning curve and the journey, like you said, applying what you know and kind of learning, and also being able to make an impact in the lives of many. But of course, when it comes to adapting this quickly, and I guess this is something that every time I do like a startup advisory or mentoring call, people always ask me that question, is like, how do I deal with insecurities or imposter syndromes? So this is something I always love to ask people working in startups, because like you've both described, it's really an environment where things move fast and there's a lot of challenges, and you have to wear many hats, especially at the beginning, until you've got the roles defined. So do you mind sharing some of the strategy that you use personally to kind of help you with imposter syndrome, mental state, and things like that?
Yeah. For me, I do so much resource reading that I just dig into so many different to lots of blogs, to like small certificate programs, to little mini courses, to just get a little extra training for myself and to validate the skills that I have and just confirm, okay, I know how to do marketing. Okay, I know how to make a strategic partnership and what goes into that relationship. And I think it's just affirming to read some of these resources and get that formal training or semi-formal training, to put it loosely. And I think also it's just a personal journey of reminding yourself of the things that you've done and the skills that you have, just giving yourself positive self-talk. And then the final thing, if I can remember what I was going to say, was, I forget my last point.
I think I know what the third thing is. Yeah, so I would say, just to add to that, the one, for me at least, one of the main things that has helped along that journey is leaning on my team, right? Leaning on the individuals that, of course, are also working towards this common goal, and even leaning on mentors and external, experts or just professionals that I look up to. Right? I think it's something that at some point of our lives we've all felt to some degree, to some shape or form. But I do think that is something that's a lot more easy to talk to now. At least within our team, I think we've created very we're establishing these common grounds where we can have conversations, where Mitra and I, for example, can sit down and talk through these sorts of things. I know you mentioned wellness and the importance of mental wellness, mental state, and Mitra can definitely speak to that if you want to share the awesome initiative that you put together on our team.
Yeah, we do Wednesday wellness sessions too every week. So we all get together and have 30 minutes to do an activity. And sometimes we talk about imposter syndrome and our feelings, and we'll journal together, all kinds of things. So I think that's an opportunity for us to level and just be on the same page. And have a moment of sharing so that we're not alone through that experience. And I remember the last thing I was going to say, I totally agree with Paula about mentoring. I think that's huge, and leaning on your team. Also, establishing some KPIs for yourself, I think, is really helpful. Like just personal goals and progress indicators, so you can know for yourself, like, I'm on track and I'm accomplishing what I need to do. So that's also validating, like, to know I'm getting what I need to do done. So I must have the skills I need to be getting them done, if that makes sense.
Oh yes, definitely. Because sometimes, we always focused on what we haven't done. That the KPIs help us also remember what we've done and what we've achieved so far. So if I've actually met this goal, then yeah, I'm actually better than I think I thought I was. That's quite interesting.
Totally.
Yeah, and I love the both of your aspects of dealing with this, and also the fact that it's really part of the fiber of Symba and the Wellness Wednesday was. Yeah, I think that's such a really great idea, especially for remote teams. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Totally.
And one thing I'm actually trying this year, because that's the last couple of years have been, as you know, with the COVID and everything, completely to turn my life upside down, or our lives. And one thing I've decided to do this year was to challenge myself to force myself to take time off a bit more during the week, not just wait for whenever I have a slot in my calendar. And so I've decided to take cooking classes in Spanish, which is actually very interesting because they are talking about, I don't know if it was aubergine, and I'm like, what's that? I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see if you point to me, I know what it is. So I had my first session yesterday, and I have to say, although it was quite active because of the, it's cooking and learning different techniques, and the food was amazing, but I felt quite relaxed, which I thought it's something that I used to do before starting my company, but now I feel like, okay, I think I need to bring those aspects of me that I feel like I've been missing for a while back into this. And I guess the second thing I absolutely love doing is things like this, having discussion with people who work in startups and hearing their journeys, because I always felt really highly motivated on a Thursday afternoon after my live shows, because I'm like, oh wow, fantastic people. So today I'll be like dancing and bouncing around and probably calling my sister like, oh, you have to watch the show. It's really, really great.
Yeah,
So
I think
what
it's so important to find those things that are energizing for you. And I love that you mentioned that, because it's hard to find work-life balance when you're in a startup. There's like not a lot of boundary unless you create it for yourself. So just making those commitments to doing those things that give you like passion and feed your fire is so important, just so that you also have energy to go and do your work as well.
Oh gosh, yeah. Especially when I get what I call spreadsheet eyes, when you have to do a lot of planning back to back and work with the team. Yeah, it's just nice to completely disconnect. One final thing that we are going to look at as we're getting towards the end of the show is just to continue a bit with this internship. And again, this is not something that we pre-prepared, but ever since I've met you and understood what you are trying to do, and especially help younger people, and I started looking at the connection with even startups, what are your thoughts on internship program targeting to startups? The reason why I mentioned that is that usually when we talk about internship, it's usually large companies or small businesses that have been a lot more established. And the startup world has its ups and downs, but it also provides a great opportunity for learning. There's a lot of startups that are asking me whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. And I thought, well, let's just have a conversation and see what they can get out of this.
Well, I would start off by just looking at our team. We've had interns since very early on. We actually started paying our interns first before we paid ourselves. So again, speaks to the commitment of, why we're doing this, why we're passionate about this. And I would tell, any startup out there that's trying to think about, should I hire an intern? Should I not hire an intern? Hiring an intern is such a fulfilling opportunity, not just in a sense of, I'm giving back, I'm opening up, the doors to my startup, but you gain leadership skills too. In a small startup, you might just be focusing on your role. You might just be focusing on, delivering your own, key projects, that sort of thing. But by actually hiring, managing, and mentoring an intern, you're gaining so much in a professional level, right? You're learning how to be a manager. You're learning how to, deliver feedback. You're learning how to motivate an individual. And I think that is such a necessary skill for any startup, because it does get to a point where you will be eventually, leading a team of more than just one person. And having those previous experiences as, an intern manager, as an intern mentor, does put you in an advantage, especially for those who have never managed individuals before. So I would say from that perspective, it is definitely a win-win. I would plug this in now. So our name is Symba, not for the Lion King, but for symbiotic relationships, because that's what we believe internships are. Internships are a symbiotic relationship between the individual coming to your company to intern and the organization, the supervisor, the manager who is, collaborating with this individual. So again, we can attest to it within our startup team. We hire, across the board, different roles, marketing, business development, design, and it's just been such a rewarding experience. And you don't need to have this elaborate internship program either, right? We're looking, like you mentioned, Nelly, the large organizations that have these 100, 200 person internship programs. You don't have to have these, elaborate programs to actually make an impact and to actually, bring on somebody that can support you in your role, right? You can bring on 1, 2, maybe 3 interns, and they will definitely make an impact and support you beyond your expectations. At least that's the experience that I've had with interns in my team, and I'm sure Mitra can attest to the same within the marketing team.
Yeah, definitely. I think another thing just to add to that, Paula, is that you have to make sure you have capacity to manage that intern well and provide them with the quality experience. So definitely advantageous to have an intern, and it's great for interns as well because they get so much opportunity to be involved and be a leader within your team at an early age. So I think it goes both ways. There's a lot of benefits, but you have to make sure that you do have the capacity to give them the time and the attention they need. Yeah.
Definitely. It's actually interesting to see how you've managed to make it work. Although I have to say, I'm really disappointed that Symba has got nothing to do with Symba from The Lion King, because it's my favorite movies of all time. I've got a mug, and my my desktop is actually Symba from Lion King. So, but I will forgive you because I love Symba, your Symba way too much. And I love also what you're talking about, the symbiotic connections. And again, for anyone just coming on and watching, another reason why I'm a strong promoter of Symba and I love watching your journey is even today I can see it's not just, when people talk about the culture, what they want to achieve, the social impact, sometimes it feels a bit like a version of greenwashing, whereas just listening to your stories today, you can see that it's really at the core and the heart of the organizations, all the way through, practicing what you are preaching to others by inviting interns into your startups. So yeah, so if there's any other startups out there who are wondering, what do we do? Then yes, go for it. It doesn't have to be as big, like you said, as the 300 people, 300 interns, but the impact that you make to 1 or 2 individuals is also very, very important, as Mitra and Paula said. Yeah. So now, what's next for what's next for Symba? What's the vision for where you're going from where you are now?
Well, 2022 is our year. We know it. And we've done the homework. We've laid out our strategic plan for the year. We are very excited to achieve new heights. We are at a growth stage now. Which means that we are hiring, building our team, right? We are definitely focusing a lot of efforts into our sales, marketing, customer success, of course, product development, which is at the core of everything else. So it is definitely a very, very exciting year. We'll be hopefully going after a Series A as well later in the year, which is a very big milestone for our team. So just if you want to follow our journey, you can find us on LinkedIn and see what we're up to for the rest of the year. Mitra, I know you also wanted to share.
I think you covered it really well. Just stay tuned. We're going to be having some more social impact initiatives coming out too, and just trying to drum up more energy in the community, educate the community, create a lot of resources for employers about how to manage their internships and best practices for these programs. So if you're an employer, definitely check out our resources too. We're here to support, but I think there's a lot coming in the next year. And as Paula said, we're really organized. We have a lot of forethought this year, and a lot of planning has been done at the beginning of the quarter. So we're super excited for how it's all going to roll out in the next few months.
Yeah, it sounds very exciting. And I think one thing you've mentioned while we were talking earlier was the demo that you've got. That's also available for anybody in HR that they wanted to find out more. They could go on your website or just get in touch with the both of you as well, right?
Yes,
yeah,
easily.
Definitely. Yeah, you can go on Symba.io. Very simple. Symba with a Y. And you can find everything about our platform, everything about our social impact campaigns. And also, if you're interested in the demo, more than happy to walk you through what the platform looks like. If you're interested in resources, right, we have from free resources on how to start an internship program, how to be a great internship manager if it's your first time being an internship manager. All those resources are there for you. And if you have any other, questions or ideas on any sort of content that might be helpful for your organization, for you as an individual, we're always looking for inspiration. We're always looking for great ideas on new content to develop as well. So yeah, feel free to drop us a line.
Sounds good. So, ladies and gentlemen, anyone watching this, I think you've really you're as excited as I am. And if you've missed anything, I would say go back from the beginning. It's such a wonderful story with loads of information that can help you run your startup and your organization. So before we go, one final on-the-spot question for Paula and Mitra. If you were to summarize in one word, if you were to summarize your startup journey, your journey into Symba, what that one word would be?
Oh, I have to think about that. Paula, you go first. One word. I'm long-winded. This is hard.
I know I always try to be concise, but always end up sharing a lot. For me, I would say just a very simple, rewarding. I mean, I think every aspect of what we've done so far has been so rewarding in so many levels, right? We've built friendships with our team members. We've built our professional tool sets, skills. We've been able to create amazing connections, amazing partnerships, amazing mentorships. And it just has always felt like a very rewarding experience.
Oh, brilliant.
I like that. That's so sweet and thoughtful, Paula. Oh, my word is
no pressure there.
I know, right? I'll keep it abstract because I love metaphors and abstract thinking. My word is circle, and maybe for the circle of life, but I think it's kind of a metaphor for the journey that Symba has had, starting with a focus of remote internships and maybe deviating a little bit and coming back to that focus. Also for myself to feel like I've gone on a circle of exploring different industries and then coming back to this kind of core thing that is ties them all together. And the circle of the community that we create in the way that everything we do somehow feeds back into each other in a positive way. So circle.
Brilliant. So we've got rewarding and circle. And I love that there's actually two very different approach, but that also shows that your individuality.
It's a rewarding circle, right? We're going around the circle and feeling so rewarded.
The circle.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So thank you, Paula and Mitra. This was amazing, and again, it's been one of my dreams since I saw you at the South Summit conference, and I will definitely be tracking your journey going forward. And for anyone who's watching, then please do connect with Paula and Mitra. They're on LinkedIn, connect with Symba. And again, if you are thinking, whether I'm a startup or a large company, I'm looking at internships and I want to go further than just my town to provide even more opportunity for young people out there, then, just pick up the phone if people still do that, or just send an email online and then connect with Symba. For everybody else, let's design a happy and productive workplace playground together.
Thank you so much, Nayli. Really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.